I genuinely think sometimes that people are just trying to create workouts that look interesting for social media. Like I see people doing the weirdest workouts and I'm like, is this actually as effective as it visually seems because it seems weird and hard, or are we just doing extra?
I think something that's flashy, something that catches your eyes, that's going to get you to stop scrolling, is
sometimes
a strategy.
Yeah.
Is a strategy for people not only in the sports training business, but in any business, right?
Hi, Doug. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. We're going to talk a little bit about your program. So if you want to start us off, we're back with Whayle and, you know, our Entrepreneur Special Series. Give me a little bit, your name, what your program is, what it is that you do.
Yeah, so Doug Brady. I train quarterbacks in San Diego, California. The name of the program is Brady Performance. A little bit about me really quick. I played high school quarterback. Always aspired to be as good as I could be. So I would always not beg people, but I'd ask anybody to train with me, whether it was like a former NFL quarterback or somebody who knew the craft. And so I was always hungry to learn and always wanted to challenge myself to go compete. So I played college football. Actually played with Joy's husband, Jamar, and the whole crew over there are really tight friends, and we go way back. And so I went and played college football with them, played college football elsewhere as well, and then got into coaching. Worked at Stanford, worked at Southwestern College, worked at school in Missouri, a couple schools in Missouri, kind of bounced around and made it my profession, right? And then got out of it in 2015, sold software, and was just, you know, applied that work ethic I learned through ball to the software sales, but then just missed ball. And so I started Brady Performance in 2020, right for the pandemic, and I made a whole business plan, did all that. The pandemic kind of threw things off, as far as like how I was going to get lead generation and how I was going to build a business and get revenue. And so there's been some peaks and valleys with it. Definitely have learned a ton being an entrepreneur and starting this business. It hasn't been, always.
It's not easy being an entrepreneur. And this is one thing that we are, like, constantly trying to drive home. And one of the reasons that we're doing the series, or that I wanted to reach out and do the series, is to help everybody out there, right? What I've learned in talking with people and just hearing backgrounds is you typically do what you know. I know personally, I ended up in TV because my dad was in TV. Leon's an engineer because his family has engineers. You see things growing up, and you're kind of locked into those items. I picked my major because my sister was in marketing. I didn't even know what it was. All of these different things that you do. And the more you can expose people and give them tips and tricks and kind of just widen that lens for them so that everybody can find that passion. So you came back to football because that's your passion, in entrepreneurship and in any job. Working hard is where we're at, right? We live in America. We live in California. It's not cheap. People need to make money. You got to get out there and do what you got to do. People nowadays are working long hours and, working until they cannot physically work anymore. At the least, you can be enjoying what you're doing. And I've learned that when people enjoy what they're doing and they're willing to work harder at it, and that's the key to success, right? That's the key to making it through the valleys, is actually wanting to be there. There has to be something to keep you going. It can't just be, because. So jumping from there, I forgot what I was about to say. We went on a tangent, and I was talking about businesses.
I did the tangent thing.
No, that's what I want to talk about, though. So in starting you go from coaching, you go into software, and now you want to go back to being a part of football. You already are a quarterback, so you know quarterbacks. Because one of the things I say, well, why quarterbacks? But you know quarterbacks. That's what you're experienced in. What made you want to do entrepreneurship versus going back into coaching and going that route? What made you say, I want to try it on my own?
Yeah, I think family. When I coached college ball, I was just a nomad. Just if I got a job, I packed my car, and if it didn't fit in the car, it was for sale.
Got you.
Or on the curb.
Got you.
And I didn't have anything that that was a focus other than just myself. And so now I'm married. I've got stepkids. I've got 3 stepkids, and it's a different lifestyle now.
Got you.
Because I thought about, okay, do I go back and coach college football? I've been offered jobs. I get calls because people know who I am. And I've networked and developed good relationships, right? So I'll get calls sometimes, but it's just not something that I was ready to like jump back into. If a local college had an opportunity
Yeah.
and it was a full-time job, then I would definitely look into that. But this was a way for me to be a family man,
Mm-hmm.
for me to have that part of my life, which is very important. You can't just go. I don't think you should just go through life living by yourself and
Yeah.
not
No,
having
yeah, that
family,
completely,
right?
totally makes
So
sense.
that was really the driving factor,
And
and
striking out on your own.
why I ended up running my own business. And my wife encouraged me to do it. She's an entrepreneur herself. She runs 3 businesses, and
I have to talk to her
yeah,
next.
she's a beast.
She's like a
She
serial entrepreneur. She's
Yeah.
definitely going to be on my list of conversation. So in getting started, what was, I know you said you made a plan and then COVID changed everybody's
Yeah.
plans, right?
hmm
So what are some things that you did then or some things that you do now to find leads? How do you find the kids? How do you get your clients? What are some
Yeah, so running events, that was the original plan, to be
Okay.
able to run events and then be able to get lead generation that way, get the brand name out, get kids wearing my shirt around the town, around San Diego, and then doing social media, creating content.
Yes.
I've done some blogs on my site. I've posted content where it's educational. It's designed that way. It's not just tooting my horn. It's to teach people a drill.
Yeah.
So I've lead generated that way, and then I'll go to the coaches convention every year, because I believe that staying in this profession, you need to continue to strive towards professional development.
Network, yep.
Yeah, so network. So I think I remember in business class, in marketing class in college and undergrad, the teacher said 50% of your marketing works. Just like, what 50%?
Yeah.
Right? And so
Exactly.
we don't know. It's hard. That's why you want to try to track like where it all comes from. But I think big events, social media, word of mouth, and just tagging some of the kids, because when their friends see the tags and they see their friends working out with such and such coach, and
Yeah.
kind of drives traffic that way.
So what do you think in those avenues, which ones have been the most successful for you? And like we said, COVID probably, I'm sure, ruined some of the event stuff then.
Yeah.
Have you gotten back into it? Are you thinking of getting back into that, like now that we're on the back end of that finally?
So to be completely transparent, I'm actually going to be selling a virtual reality software as like my main gig
Okay.
now, and then doing this as more of a side gig.
Which,
Because
yeah.
yeah, because in the state of California, from when I started in 2020 till
Mhm.
now, the insurance premiums that you have to pay have doubled.
Okay, so that was going to be another
Field space,
question.
like renting a field, is just not not conducive to running a sole prop. I mean, if I would have gone the nonprofit route,
Yeah.
that would have been better. But I wanted to, it's a for-profit business, and I didn't really have like a set mission
Yeah.
from a nonprofit standpoint. I believe in philanthropy. I believe in giving. Like I'll give
Yeah.
kid families deals and kids free sessions, from case to case, based
Yeah.
off of like,
But it's a
yeah,
for-profit
yeah,
business.
it's
You
a
need to
for-profit business, right?
you
So I
have to
didn't
stay
go that,
functioning. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't go that route, and now I'm making iterations. I'm going to be selling a virtual reality software that I purchased for
Okay.
for my business, but I think it's going to still keep me very involved in the quarterback training
Yeah.
in this world. But I think,
And
if
you're
I were
not stopping, right?
I'm not
It's just
stopping.
going
I'm
to
going
be
to
your
still
side
do it.
gig.
Yeah, it's going to be more of a side gig. So, yeah, I still run events. I have an event coming up on Memorial Day weekend, where I've partnered with a local biomechanics lab that's actually partnered with the San Diego Padres,
Oh, nice.
and they're going to tailor the findings for quarterbacks for our camp. But I'm excited about that. I've got other partnerships for this camp, looking to lock in an NFL coach. They're obviously busy right now because of the
Yeah.
draft, right? The
Yeah.
draft's going on right
So
now.
yeah, it
So,
happened. Yeah, it was yesterday.
right, yeah,
I
it's going
know.
on this weekend, right? So I'm hoping next week he's got a schedule, so I try to do events where I bring value to the community, give the kids an opportunity to learn through biomechanics, through science,
Yeah.
because quarterbacking is an art and science. So yeah, so I'm kind of bounced around on you a little bit,
No,
but
that's fine. I was actually going to ask. So I like to go where the conversation leads, and events, because that's a whole nother section of a business, and that's
mhm,
one thing about being an entrepreneur that I don't think a lot of people think about. It is costly,
mhm,
but it's timely. right? Like you have to put so much time. It's almost like you're talking about doing social media. So now that's a full-time gig.
Yes.
Marketing, that's a full-time gig.
Yep.
Training, that's a full-time gig. That's not even talking about books and administration and putting together papers and all of your licensing and all these things. So being an entrepreneur, you're often doing 5 jobs at once, right? So I love this. Anyways, back to events. In the event planning, that's a whole business. That's a whole business that people dedicate their entire life to, right? So you said insurance premiums have gone up. Now, are those? I have 2 different questions based off of that. As a trainer, are there any certain specific like certifications or licenses that you have to have, or is it based off of experience?
So that's a great question. I mean, there's some industries that are very cut and dry. Like you can't be a practitioner in that industry without having a license. So with the sports training industry, some of it is like a cottage industry, right? It's just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Quarterback trainers didn't really exist when I was coming up.
It's not like regulated, right?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's kind of. It just, hey, there's a need for it. People want training.
Yeah.
And there's somebody who knows enough. Like I said, I'm big on professional development. I'm part of the AFCA, the American Football Coaches Association. I'm CPR certified. I have my fingerprints through the FBI, right? Because I've had to work for schools, right? So as far as like being legit, like I try to check all those boxes. But as far as having like a certification to train quarterbacks,
so technically
there is no certification for that.
So if I'm a parent, and I'm bouncing around with you because now I'm thinking about something else. If I'm a parent and I have an athlete and I'm looking for a trainer, whether it be a quarterback trainer or any trainer out there, because it's not just quarterbacks, right? This happens in music. This happens in any sort of artistic or skill that's trying to be developed. You can probably find somebody that's saying like, hey, I know what I'm doing. And I just told Jamar this the other day. Sometimes I'm scrolling through social media. My kids play sports and stuff, and I'll be looking at different basketball stuff for Giovanni. And I think I genuinely think sometimes that people are just trying to create workouts that look interesting for social media. Like I see people doing the weirdest workouts, and I'm like, is this actually as effective as it visually seems because it seems weird and hard, or are we just doing extra to make it seem different than what everybody else is doing out there? So as a parent, how do I know? What are some things I can look for to say like, oh no, like this person's kind of legit versus, or is it just experience? So I just need to look into that person's background.
I wrote an article on this on my website. It's like how to choose a quarterback coach.
Yeah.
And one of the first things is look at their experience. Look at where they've coached, where they learned, and make sure you dive into that.
Yeah.
Find out who they've trained. Maybe ask a parent of a kid that's been trained by that individual, and find out, has your kid acquired skills that now help them? Right? Has there been a progression? And so I would definitely go on the Brady Performance site. You could take a look at that if somebody's watching this. I think it could be a good criteria on how to choose a private coach for lessons for like piano lessons. Like we have, we're looking for a tutor for our 9th grader, and super smart kid, but just not fired up about school right now. Which is like
it happens.
Because I think anyways, I can go off on a tangent on that, but I think just kind of knowing who the person is, being able to ask discovery questions, like, does this person know what they're talking about?
Yeah.
But going back to the social media thing, I think we live in such a society where we just live in snippets. We live in like a soundbite culture, right?
Yes,
where
100%.
You're just trying to get that stimulation when you're scrolling through and you're looking at a cool video that lasts like what, 30 seconds?
At the most.
We have a shorter attention span, even as adults now. I mean, it's kind of been built that way, and so I think something that's flashy, something that catches your eyes, that's going to get you to stop scrolling, is
sometimes
a strategy. Is a strategy for people not only in the sports training business but in any business, right? I've always been led by try to have substance in whatever I do for work, whether I was selling software to construction company. I was trying to bring substance, whether I was recruiting a kid to a school that I was a recruiting coordinator at or the quarterback coach at. I was trying to find the value that the school would bring to them or the software would bring to them.
Yeah.
And so from my experience, I try to bring substance in every workout. I try to, you know, like when I was just working out with Lee, I was asking him questions, like making sure when we were doing juggling and I was asking him math questions or I was asking him questions about defenses. And so I'm always trying to get the mindset right.
Yeah.
Like my biggest, I think my niche would be mindset, experience, having coached the position, playing the position, and and like a feedback loop.
Like results. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
feedback
where
loop.
did they
Yeah,
get results from other people?
yeah.
Okay. So now
So
we're going to switch back over because I don't want to leave this yet, but in events insurance, we're going to hop back to that because I didn't want, that was my second half is you said for events insurance is double. What type of insurance do you typically need for events and such like that? Like what are they looking at if I wanted to put on an actual camp?
yeah, so the different schools and municipalities, they want to be added on as additional insured,
Okay.
right? So like they need to have their information on your insurance document saying that they're going to be there, you're going to
Some,
indemnify them,
yeah. So if
right?
something happens,
You're going to
they
make them whole
cover
if
too.
something
Yep.
happens. Yep, like through your insurance policy, and then they obviously have their insurance policies. So it's just like having like extra coverage, umbrella coverage, like on our cars or whatnot. So I don't want to butcher like all the words. Like there's like a certificate, COI, certificate of
Yeah.
insurance, and then there's another one. But I kind of when I get all that stuff, I'm like I send it to my insurance people. Be like, can
And
you?
just make sure that it's all
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
So if I want to put on an event and I've got my insurance, what are some other things that I'm trying to check off my list?
So you obviously want to like the schools. They have a program called Facilitron, and I'm sure if you're an entrepreneur in another industry, if you're renting out a theater or you're renting out a park, whatever,
Side
there's
note, I'm gonna let people know Facilitron public schools are actually public property, and during non-school times, they technically rent or should be renting to the public around. And
hmm
Facilitron is an online system in which you can go online.
hmm
I worked at a school, so I happen to know this.
yeah,
You can go online and you can find the school and you can see what facilities they have available that are
hmm
for rent
yep.
after hours when students aren't on campus. And a lot of times, those facilities can be a lot more reasonably priced. So, no,
You would think so. It was before,
it
but
was
now they're
before.
like,
Okay.
I think after the furloughs in 2008 and just
Yeah.
all the financial stuff that's happened in the state, I think schools are trying to like get as much
But
back as they
yeah,
can, right?
which is why I know at least when I was working at Coronado, that's how they even started using it was because the revenue they need the money.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's a
So
lot. It's just the market's a lot different from when I first started it,
got you.
you know, and like pricing things out and then looking at. I didn't do like a whole pro forma, but
Mm.
I did an analysis on like, okay, what are my expenses going to be? What is that going to be annually, and try to forecast that, right? So, you know, going back to your original question, so whatever platform you use, whatever third party platform, you just explain what Facilitron is. You know, find out if there's like a stock one that you can just create an account in and then be able to rent out space wherever, right?
Yeah.
So it's just uniform. So your next time you're not having to fill out a whole other
A new
form,
one.
because some of the schools, like if you go to a private school, they might have their own internal system,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But the public schools are going to have Facilitron for pretty much every school I've ever tried to rent it out. It's
It's
Facilitron,
Facilitron.
right? So that would be one of the checklist items. Like make sure you rent out the facility, that you
Okay.
have it locked in. You want to make sure that you have a marketing plan for it, that you're able to create nice looking graphics. You know,
Yeah.
because we are on social media,
We
we are looking at
we are
that
a
stuff, and
visual
yeah.
society.
So if you
Yes.
just have like a janky looking graphic, then people are going to probably have an idea about you, of the way you present yourself,
Yeah.
right? So Canva is a very reasonably priced
Yeah. I use
tool,
Canva.
right?
Yes.
Where you can have virtually no experience and watch a YouTube video and learn how to put a Canva together
Yeah. And
within.
Canva's
Yeah,
AI too, so a lot of
yeah,
times it'll get you really close to what you need.
for sure. So you can use that to then create like a marketing plan,
Mm.
and your content that you can put out for your marketing plan. If you have Google or G Suite, G Suite has a ton of tools in there. You have your calendar feature in there. You've got Google Meet
Yeah.
for webinars.
How do you
Um,
get your like? How do you? Um, I know most of these camps, you like you said, you're trying to get the NFL coach, and most of these camps, when I see for sports camps, particularly, you have some sort of protection. I would say most camps, right? Anytime you want to have like that name that's going to give it some legitimacy. How do you find that person? Do you happen to know them? Like if I don't know anybody, is there a good route?
yeah, so
I know that's hard. Like,
one of my strategies from when I was trying to get into coaching was network. I'd go work camps. I'd fly places and go work camps. I've worked camps with USC. I've worked camps with Nebraska. I'd fly to Nebraska every summer and go work camps. And so I was willing to invest that time and spend the money to go meet those people where they get to see me work and they know my name from 20 years ago. I mean, when I worked at Stanford in 2006, when I worked at Stanford, like, so being on school environment.
Oh no, that's fine.
Hey, real life.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I worked at Stanford in 2006, I was in charge. They put me in charge of all the visiting coaches, and out of that group, out of that roster of visiting coaches, there's guys that have gone on and been Division I head coaches or coaching the NFL that I was in charge of. So
nice.
Like there's people I still keep in touch with during that time, and just so it's just networking. So I think if you're trying to break into an industry and get to know people within an industry, you got to be willing to do stuff for free. You've got to be willing to go volunteer your time, and you got to be genuine in who you are too. You know,
education, experience, and engagement. That's what we always say at Whayle are the three keys to really getting off the ground and being successful in something, and it applies across the board and everything it is. Oh, that's the young man that helped me find the field.
I should have given you the my pin drop. My bad.
Oh no, you're fine. I seen you. I just I couldn't find the gate. So
that I came through. I parked over there.
Oh no worries. So yeah, education, experience, and engagement, right? And sometimes you're gonna have to pay for that. 100%. Sometimes you're gonna have to get there and put that actual effort in it once again. But if you're passionate about it, and you really, really, really want to get it done, then I think that's cool.
And what I do want to say one more thing about that, like I think it also needs to be natural.
Yes.
Too. Like I know the times where I've tried to just make something happen. Now you hear stories of people that are bold, and you hear wins, people being bold, but also it could be the reverse too.
So here's what I always say is that you have your goal, right? And I'm all about being steadfast with a goal, but you should never be so focused on the one goal that you're missing other opportunities along the way. Sometimes we get so narrow focused that we're not willing to wiggle at all. Like maybe you want to be a quarterback trainer, but maybe the events are working better for you. Don't just not do it because it's not the one-on-one training that you're looking for, right? Because that might be your path to the one-on-one training. You just know, like, sometimes we get so focused and there's such a dream or a goal that we're like hitting all these other opportunities away, but you don't know. You have to be open to those things. Like,
and another thing, sorry, I just cut you off, but another thing that I wish I would have taken this advice and written on my mirror, written on my wall, put it on my dashboard of my car. I wish I would have done this. And it was from Todd Durkin, who trained Drew Brees, the Daniel Tomlinson. He's a famous trainer here in San Diego. I've developed a relationship with him, and I met with him when I created my business plan and started going towards this, right? And he told me, the nicher, the richer. The nicher, the richer. Yeah. The more of a niche that you have, and you carve out that niche, and you're hyper focused on this area within your industry that you're going to be great at, the better off you'll be. And I keep on coming back to that. And I keep on thinking about that, and like not beating myself up about it as much as, I mean, life happens, right? Like I don't want to live life thinking about, hey, I'm this age, I'm done, like I don't want to live that way. I want to live. I've talked to my wife about this. She likes to stay active. She's hungry to like continue to grow and learn. We're
still young.
And I want to have that mentality when I'm 70. I want to have that mentality when I'm 80. When when the day that I die, hopefully, like I'm still have the mentality I want to learn, right? So I just say from that standpoint where find a niche. And now for me, hopefully when I watch this video a year from now, 2 years, 5 years from now, I could say, you know what, my niche is going to be, I'm going to be great at selling the virtual reality software and be an expert in that space. VR training. And why is it going to be important for somebody to do that? It's an immersive environment. It really allows that tool to be an extra aid to the coach so that you're measuring the athlete within it. And right?
So when you say VR training, now we're running off on a whole nother tangent, but I'm interested because my little one loves VR, right? We're talking about virtual reality, put the seat on, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's going to be a huge part of the future. I think we're going to be meeting people that we're not necessarily sitting next
Right.
to, but it's going to feel like we're sitting next to you and all those things. Is that kind of what, like, I'm trying to, my
So
brain is going a million right
so
now. So
what so
like,
what
yeah.
I so what I so what I'm going to be selling is Reps VR. And it was a gentleman who started that company,
Uh-huh.
got his PhD from Stanford, did research at Stanford, and then ended up implementing it with the football team there.
Okay.
And prior to him getting his PhD, he worked for the military, U.S. military,
Okay.
and he trained special operators with VR training, because like a live immersive
Yeah.
experience is the best trainer. And then having that view, like they call it the shooter's view,
Okay.
if you're training in that environment, it's a lot different than like having the bird's eye view and like watching or
Yeah. Yeah.
reviewing
Yeah.
film from like that standpoint. So when you put like 360 footage, like GoPro, like a GoPro
Yeah. Yeah.
360 or other 360 footage, it's live footage. It's not computer generated imagery. It's not
Okay.
animated, but it's live footage, and the brain takes that information in as if you're physically there within 80 to 90%, right?
Yeah.
Like 100% would be you're there, right? But it's the closest thing to actually training somebody in their environment. So like a quarterback, for instance,
Okay.
if I'm going to train a quarterback off of film from a camera up there or a camera up high, it's not the same view that they have out in the game.
100%.
There's objects around them.
Perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's a whole
so,
different
but
perspective.
we train people off of that type of footage all the time. And it's like, I'm trying to tell you, hey, Joy, I want you to, when you see the safety in the corner like this and a linebacker, I want you
Yeah.
to throw it over. But like, when you're on the field, you're seeing it from eye level.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. No, yeah.
it's just
100%.
way it's just way better.
And both of them are helpful, right?
Both of
Like,
them are
but
helpful.
for that person, like, once again, basketball, I always tell my kid, like, we see things differently because we're outside. But to the other half of that, like me telling you what I see out here doesn't actually change
It's
what you're
so
feeling
much
in there,
different, right?
right? Like, you're still in that moment.
Yeah,
Of course, it's easy for me to be like, defense, hands up. Why aren't you getting that rebound? Why aren't you doing all these
100%.
things? I'm not the one in the game. I'm not the one that has a million things happening around me. And so that makes sense. So with this software, are you real time training or are these pre-recorded?
Pre-recorded,
Okay, so
right?
pre-recorded.
So like imagine a team's practicing out here, and a quarterback or a safety, any position
Okay,
you
yeah,
could
yeah,
train
yeah.
any position with this, right? There's definitely curriculum you could build. So there's a camera on their head,
Mm-hmm.
on their helmet, and it's tracking everything, like even tracks everything behind them. Then you put it in the software, you edit it, and then you could put brevity codes in there. So like if he's supposed to throw the route on the right hand side,
Uh-huh.
you could have the system grade whether he says right hand side or post or whatever, and then it gives a grade
And so
for.
this software goes to the school, or the coach would purchase this software.
So it could be different.
And
There's like different ways, right? So the school, in a perfect world, the school purchases it.
okay.
They purchase the hardware and the licenses.
And then all the coaches can use it in any sport,
I
or is
mean
it
that
is
that
it
would be
football specific?
ideal in my opinion,
Yeah.
if a AD, an athletic director, purchased it for all their sports. Water polo uses UCLA water polo uses this. UCLA
Okay.
football uses it. Colorado State football uses it. But even if it's like I don't know how well it'd be for baseball, how good it would be for baseball. I mean, you got the camera on there and you could see the pitches coming. I mean, so I'm sure it'd be great for baseball. It'd be
But
good for
technically you
basketball.
could, yeah, right? Like,
You
yeah,
could, but it
technically.
was designed for football,
Okay.
specifically for football, but it can be used for other sports. So, anyways, like I'm still within the space that I'm in now,
Yeah, no, I love that for you.
you
That's
know,
awesome. So in
and
theory, Doug Brady can use this software and create a virtual training, right?
yeah, yeah,
Quarterback
it's
training,
already
right?
created.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
okay.
already
So
created. Yeah,
got you.
it's already there. It's like,
I'm back.
no,
Got
no,
you.
no, no,
Okay.
no. Like I threw that at you, but I guess my
I
whole
don't know what
point.
that was, honestly, when you were saying it. Like so many times in these conversations, I don't know everything, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
learned, but
No, well,
I didn't know what version. But now I'm like, wait, that's so interesting, though. So like, I can go to your website and you have a virtual training program.
you have to, yeah, you'll have to get like the Oculus. You have to
Like
get,
my son has an Oculus.
yes. So you would get a license, and then you could purchase like different programs that exist within it, and you could go learn. You can go learn from that, and it's going to be way better learning me than a coach like writing it on a whiteboard
Yeah, I
or
love that.
2D. Like you're actually in it,
think the future of that can be amazing.
For
like
sure.
as it continues to develop, and I don't know, like my brain goes to you being able to do your one-on-one trainings using VR with somebody that doesn't have to necessarily be in your
100%,
physical space. You know what I
100%.
mean?
No,
And
that
like
exists.
that's for that's one of those things we were just talking about, where you still have your focus, but you're not gonna pass on these other opportunities, and you may end up right back there, right?
100%.
Like you may be right back to training with students, but just on a whole nother level, very niche, because how many people can offer that right now? And you're positioning yourself to be in a space where you know the VR,
Right.
you know the software, you also know quarterbacking, you know football, you know people. You're creating this perfect niche space for yourself to be able to go out there and really push that along. And I think that type of stuff is the future. Like I think
I'm
that's
stoked.
amazing.
I'm stoked. And I feel like now I have a lot more focus.
Yeah.
And I don't need to be great at a million things. I don't need to be like selling software. I had all these sales enablement tools. I had to create my own go-to-market strategy. I led a sales team. I learned a lot. And going and starting my own business, one of the things I would also say is less is more.
Yep.
You don't need a million tools. You don't need to go like make your overhead so high because you're like, oh, I need this or I can't.
Yep. 100%.
Like some of it is like you might have an insecurity. And like you're not good enough. Well, you got to believe that you're good enough.
And sometimes people just see a lot, right? You want to do everything. And the idea is, if I do it all right now, then I'll be profitable because I'll have all of these different things. And a lot of people don't. I tell people that want to be entrepreneurs all the time, I don't care how much money you have saved, it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
I don't care if you think it's going to be 2 years, it's probably going to be 4. I don't like it's just the nature of what you're doing. And it doesn't matter. Like the odds that somebody starts a business and is immediately profitable is so rare. And and I think that's in all professions. When we look at actors and actresses and you see somebody and it's like, oh my gosh, they became famous overnight. Like I've never seen that person. And then they're in this big movie and they've got all this money, right? And then you watch TV and you're like, oh wait, that was them when they were 12. I never knew they were in that show. They've been doing this since they were 6, but nobody ever sees that work, right? So it's very, very easy, and especially in social media and with kids, and I tell my kids this too, like it's easy to look and assume that these 20-year-olds you see are actually successful, right? It's easy to think that this person just got that money, they went viral yesterday. You don't realize they've been posting for 8 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't realize that
like
they
the
were sleeping in their car.
Yeah.
Because they weren't posting that a lot of times, right? Nobody was there for that part of the struggle. And then you see them at the success part, you think it's easy. Everybody wants to be a professional athlete. Are you out there outworking 98% of people? Only 2% are going to make it.
Yeah.
But it's very easy to tell yourself these things, and to think that things are going to be quick and easy. And the reality is, most people, when you talk to older people that are successful and really have solidified their success, not a quick success that's fleeting. I'm not even necessarily talking about like influencer type success, because I feel like those types of successes are solely based on what somebody else is willing to give you. It's not necessarily what you built yourself. And the influencers that will last will be the ones that put time and effort into having that strong foundation. But a lot of times when you talk to very, very successful people, they'll point out that like there was a road that I took to get here, and it was long and it was hard, and sometimes it was lonely, right? But I stayed the road, and that kind of led to success. But along the way, just like we were talking about with you, or even with where I'm at in the world, and Leon, all of these things, like you picked up little skills along the way. You might not even realize it, but if you stay with your goal in mind, and even if it's software, right? Like, but you're still in the niche that you want to be in, you're picking up these little skills, and then one day it's all going to come together. I've always known I've wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always tried little different things, and it's hard. They weren't successful. Some things fell off quickly, some things didn't. I have an idea yesterday and today and da da da. But what did happen is, after time, all of these little things worked together, and then they created this thing where now I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm doing things that I've picked up skills for. I'm having podcasts, I'm doing media, I'm doing admin work. And even though Nobody would have thought that working at NBC and being an admin professional at USD, like, how do those have anything to do with each other? Here we are, right? Like, who else can say they'll do all that for you? So it definitely takes time. I definitely see an awesome future for you. I'm very, very excited about the VR stuff.
Appreciate it.
Um, Super happy to have you talking with me today. I know we covered a lot. I'm actually super excited to watch this back. I think there's some good nuggets out there for people, whether it be about events, whether it be about training, whether it be about just being an entrepreneur and getting reminded that, you know what, I know it's hard. We know it's hard. And yes, it's probably going to get a little bit harder before it gets
Yeah,
easier, but you know, that ebb and flow, those valleys make the peaks higher,
no
and
doubt.
you know, it makes the successes that much better. Before we go, my last question, I went on AI and I Googled what are the top, like, what are some top questions that people have for quarterback coaches. So we're going to end on that. One of the things was, what do I do about footwork? How do I get better at footwork?
Yeah, I think you when we were out there, I had some cones set up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you need to be able to do some block training where you know the pattern you're going to go through to be able to create a foundation,
Okay.
and then you want to randomize. You want to get to the point where you're randomizing like the movement.
Got you.
And in a perfect world, when I'm out there training, I have other athletes out there that can be a scout that can then run at the quarterback. So he's got to keep his eyes up, and
Okay.
then they got to move, right? So
Got you.
start off with a structured, pattern,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Vary it.
once they've got that down, you could still do some touch up work on that, but don't put a lot of your time into that. Put your time into like the random bucket
Got you.
where they have to move and it's more like game like.
Okay. Next question was, how do you help? What advice would you give for mental preparation or how to remain mentally sound and focused? I know quarterbacks, you know, you're like the coach out there when you're on the
Yeah,
field, and you've got to be reading and throwing and moving and doing all these things, and it can get intense. What is the mental prep like? What's some good mental things that they can do to prepare themselves or just stay calm in the moment?
that's a really good question. I'm going to cite two sources for this. My wife actually did a video on Instagram of my wife talking about kind of like setting up the night before mentally what you're going to accomplish the next day.
Okay.
Right? We've all heard that, like
Yeah.
goal setting,
Yeah.
right? I think it's powerful. And then I was watching Serena Williams and Venus Williams, a story about their dad and like their upbringing, right?
Yeah.
And I remember him in the movie telling his girls, did you write your goals down for tomorrow? Did you write them all down? Did you visualize them? So I think thinking about it the night before or thinking about what you want to accomplish is huge,
Okay.
so that you have that mental framework. Like, this is what I'm going to do, and state it. Like, I'm going to be a accurate passer. I'm going to be a quarterback that's going to be calm in the moment. So stating your goals ahead of time and being mindful of what they are the night before is super important. And as far as like the mindset goes, like having affirmations that you say to yourself.
Okay.
For me,
Affirmations are big. Yeah.
affirmations are big. Like, I was an undersized quarterback. Like, I remember going to New Mexico State, seeing like Shalimar as a giant, and then like all these cats are like way faster, way
Yeah.
better athletes than I was. But I think what my biggest strength was is I believed in myself. And I was a QB. I'm like, okay, I could play within my ability, my skill set,
Yeah.
and I had a good skill set to throw the ball. Right, I had that, but my mindset was my biggest piece, because I was like, I'm gonna go in here, we're gonna move the ball, and I'm in. I'm gonna be positive. I'm not gonna go out and party all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't when I was there. Like, I was like leading Bible studies. I didn't party.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I
I love
didn't
that.
like I was locked in, and so like I made it a point to really believe in myself and to speak those positive affirmations. Last thing on that, patience, poise, confidence. I'd always tell myself, be patient, be poised, be confident. Nobody could take that away from me.
So that's amazing, because one of the things we also do is mental health for student athletes, because most of the team are student athletes and understand the mental pressures that come with it. And one of the stats that Jamar recently learned is that 80% of our thoughts are negative. I'm not making this up. We can Google it. 80% of your thoughts are negative. So this is why positive affirmations are actually so important,
Mm-hmm.
and mentally being confident is so important, right? And truly
I
understanding
am.
your thoughts.
I am somebody who does the right thing. I show up early.
Yeah.
I take care of my mind and body. Like, those are things I'm speaking to myself, and I can do a better job. And I'm like, I need to,
We all can, though,
right?
right?
You know
That's
what I
part
mean?
of it. If
But like, I
80% is
need to
bad and I've
speak to yourself
got
that
to
way.
speak to myself, even if
Yeah,
I can get that down to 40%, that's
100%.
a win, right? Like, that's a mental win. Today, we all need mental wins. We
No
need
doubt.
mental health. We need to believe in ourselves. And um, I think stop comparing ourselves to everybody else. You know,
That'd
this
be good.
idea that, but there's this, with social media and just the access to so much information, I think it's important to remember that everybody's story is their story, though. Just because you're seeing that snippet, it's theirs.
Hmm.
Don't compare yourself to that. You don't actually know. You can think you know. You can see certain parts, but at the end of the day, that's their journey. That's their story.
Yeah.
Yours is yours. And the more we can kind of remind ourselves that, it'll make the jealousies go down, right?
Yeah.
It'll make the confusion. It can be confusing. Like, I might have a job that I like, but because social media is telling me I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur, now I feel like if I'm not out there trying to be a millionaire, then I must be doing something wrong.
Mm.
Not everybody wants to do that. Sometimes, like, people are minimalist. Sometimes people, it's okay to go to work and get a check and come home and be happy with that life. That's
Right.
fine. It's not, but the world makes you feel like it's wrong nowadays, right? Everybody's in pursuit of greatness, but greatness is supposed to look different to everybody. That's how the circle keeps going. Okay, so the last and third question that I'm going to ask you is about physical fitness in regards to staying healthy, injuries, and things like that. How do you avoid injuries, and how do you keep them from getting worse?
Yeah, so I would tell everybody to get screened and assessed
Okay.
by a physical therapist or by somebody who has certification in FMS, was functional movement screening,
Okay.
or any type of screen that exists out there. Like, understand how your body moves, because we all have our own signature, right? We don't all move the same. We're not all the same athlete, and so some of us might have a longer right leg than our left leg, right?
Yeah.
So we all have our own unique situations. And so being able to find a baseline and get screened and assessed is super important,
Love that.
because then you know what you need to maintain and what you need to work on extra. And then, but you also know how your body works and functions, and you know how to then move properly if you get screened and assessed, because they should give you exercises that help you move better. And if you know how to move better, then you could load more weight if you're going to lift
Yeah.
weights, or you can do something at a more high level if you move better.
Love that.
So, like, get screened, get assessed, learn how to move, and then the world's your oyster as far as movement and being an athlete and being a human. Like, we've got to be able to like move and do function in our daily lives. Like,
Yeah.
we got to move stuff. We got to be able to do work in the yard. We got to be able to get underneath our car sometimes. There's all these things we need to be able to do
Yeah. And your
as
body has to last you a
humans.
long time.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's
you get
not just an
older.
athlete.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get older, and like, even myself, I'm like, God, my back is killing me. But back's been killing me since I was 18. I probably should have got it looked at then, because
Go get a screening assessment now. Like, it's
well,
not too late. Like,
I know.
like, look up FMS, and then go find somebody near where you live, get screened and assessed, and they're going to give you info that you never would have thought of. Like,
Yeah.
oh crap, like, here's why my back's tight,
Love that.
because down here,
Yeah.
it all started down there.
I'm gonna
The way
take
that
your
your
money.
ankles load, the way that your hips load, the way, the human body is amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much,
You're
Doug.
welcome.
I love these things because I learned so much. I'm gonna go take Giovanni to get screened and assessed so that we can learn his body and make him a better player. And I wish you nothing but success.
Thank you so much,
Of
Joy.
course.
Appreciate it.
Nice job.
Yeah.